for loans, yes.
Okay, that doesn't sound like big demand. Steady.
I wouldn't say big demand right now. I'd say steady.
Seth, you see it all, because no matter what Tom and Chip tell me or what Louise may say in terms of loan demand, you're there for the closing. Are the deals getting closed?
Oh, they're definitely getting closed. Some of them are a little bit more stressed, but they're definitely getting closed. We had a great number of people with the tax advantage program at the end of April rushing to get to contract. But we're really...
I did hear a little bit of that. Was that a busy time?
It was very busy, but we had actually a healthy attitude in the market. Yeah. We found that there were a lot of people who were not willing to just rush willy-nilly to buy any house, and they may have tried to buy a house and it just didn't work out, but they're still in the market, and they're not walking away from the market just because the tax advantage is no longer there.
But from where you sit, it's not a case where everything's falling apart 2 days before closing. I mean, the deals are getting done, the money's in line, the offer's secure.
Absolutely, and it's pretty much business as usual. What I think Louise might back me up on this is that because of the change in the HUD or RESPA regulations relative to the good faith estimate and the disclosures on closing costs, the banks are a little bit stressed to make sure that they report all possible costs, maybe estimate a little bit higher because they don't want to get into trouble
of what it's going to cost.
Of what it's going to cost under the new regulations, and that may put an individual buyer in a difficult position in terms of qualification. They may not qualify for as much house, perhaps, as
and I want to talk to Louise about what the bank's looking for in terms of qualifications. Will take me out of the loop, of course, but in the meantime, 451-2414. If you're watching Thursday night, you're watching the live broadcast, so call us with any questions you have. Again, I'm doing it kind of by topic tonight, a little different for me. We'll talk a little bit about the purchase side, the selling side, get into the foreclosure and short sale issue, a little bit on taxes later, maybe if time allows to, a little bit real estate as an investment. But any questions you have on the real estate topic, 451-2414. I heard you guys in my ear. Did you have something to say on what we were talking about here, or can I go to my next thing here?
Actually, it was the first-time home buyer credit. It was kind of amazing. Is that January and February it brought people out to start looking at homes. March got very, very busy. I think what the surprising part, which I think a lot of people are looking at as agents out there, is that there wasn't really a mad rush. Is for the first part of April, they were out looking for homes, but if that house was not the house for them, $8,000 was not going to make that difference.
And I think it's characteristic of this market, just like we were discussing earlier in last year. We tend to move a little bit more slowly. We're not a rushed market on many different levels.
And we've gone back to what Louise was saying, too, at the same time, is I think your borrower now is actually coming down with money down. They're going back to the sound financial aspect where I have a nice deposit, I'm going to buy a house, and I've already planned for it. It's not going to be just off and seller concessions on top of that. Those are great tools.
Well, then let's do that. Let me move into my first block, which is the purchase side. I'm looking to buy a house. You're dealing with buyers. Tom, first to you. At what point do you tell somebody, make the? You're showing houses. How do people know when to make an offer? It's not a fast-moving market here, correct? Well, do you want to see a lot of houses in this market first?
The average time is there's a process for everything. It's amazing, and people can give you stats on everything, but it's usually between 10 and 15 hours of working with a buyer. Now, it's not at all.
And then they make an offer?
And they on average, they'll make an offer.
It takes me that long to buy a stereo.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Well, it's not at one time. It's over weeks or whatever. But what's nice about it is they're looking at 4 or 5 different houses. Your choices of houses in this area are not limited, but you have a ranch, a cape, a split level, a raised ranch, or a colonial. There's few contemporaries out there.
Okay, but here's the question. Here's the big question. And I read in the Sunday Post Standard, they have this little blurb on the front page of the real estate section. The house listed for $199 and it went for $201. And I keep thinking none of these are coming in too much lower than what the asking. But what are people? What if the house is X? What do you want me to offer?
It depends on what your need is. If you're desperate to buy that house, then you're going to offer closer to list price. It also depends on, did the real estate agent help the person who's selling the house by pricing it close to the market. Some houses are priced over the market, and you know that it's priced over the market. So you're going to price, your offer is going to come in below it. if you've got 2 or 3 people that are looking at the house, which happened a lot in March and April, we had 2 and 3 buyers, we had multiple offers.
So there's no rule, though. I mean, no matter what. I mean, you want to say you want to come in, it's like the car, but, you know, you want to come in
10% below list price? No.
Yeah.
It depends on the price range. It depends on how hot that property is, the condition. A good house is still going to sell in 30 days. But what's the definition of a good house? It's got to be in good condition. It's got to be in a good location, and it's got to be priced to the market. That scenario will still sell.
You're moving into my selling block, though, and I'm coming. But what do you see? What are buyers looking for now? Now, this is just a theory, so correct me. But I'm thinking people are looking more to downsize rather than expand in this market, or no?
Well, no. You got to look at who the buyer is right now. 50% of all the buyers in the last year are under 45 years of age. Actually, they're between 30 and 40. So those buyers are not looking for a 1970s style kitchen. They're looking for something that's a little bit more updated.
And it's still bigger is better. They're still looking for the great room that's truly a great room now.
They don't want a cut-up house. Right. They want a house that has a good-sized family room because that's the way we live now. Right. We don't live in the Brady Bunch house.
I live in 2 rooms in my house. Right. You know that.
Yeah. But the generation, it's generational. The X generation and the Y generation do not want their parents' house. They want something new. They want what they want when they want it. And things in the older homes, they're looking at what their options are. Is the other piece is what has been updated. If you bought that house, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and you haven't done any changes to it, you're going to have a tough time with that buyer of today.
Louise, I'm going to talk to you about how we pay for this in a minute. But first, let me get to Whitesboro, New York. Walt, welcome to the show. Go ahead, Walt.
Hello.
Hi.
My question, we're in the process of refinancing our home.
Yes.
We went to the lender, and what bothers me the most, I don't know if you can answer the question, is the fact that they said the loan, when I asked who would take over the loan, it was going to be sold like to Freddie Mac. Concerns I have with Freddie Mac, because over time, and when I heard about them also wanting to borrow more money from the federal government to keep afloat, do I have to worry about it?
Sure. Hold on. Joanne, I'm coming to you as well. Hold on a minute. You both can answer. It's a great question. And Seth, go first. And then
you really don't ever have to worry about who the loan is ultimately serviced by or sold to, because you've already got your money. And it's simply a matter of repaying that debt or that obligation to whoever you're notified to repay it to. Ultimately, down the road, that mortgage is going to be discharged once you pay it off, or once you sell and then pay it off, or hit the lottery and pay it off. And the discharge will be filed. Most of the loans today are registered under MERS, which is the Mortgage Electronic Registration Service. So the ultimate lender that may be servicing it may not actually be the holder of the mortgage, and these are details that you don't have to be concerned with. You've already got your money, you've already got your house, you make your payments as notified.
I hear what Seth is saying, but you know something? You agree with him?
I agree with what he's saying.
Okay,
yes.
I don't usually agree with Seth, but but to Walt's point, we get the loan from the bank around the corner, and you kind of want to think that that's who you're dealing with. Not always the case. In fact, probably rarely the case.
Well, there's really 2 aspects of that. Selling the loan, selling the funds to Fannie or Freddie is one thing. To me, that's a behind-the-scenes, type of thing. Our borrower, it doesn't affect our borrower at all. Servicing is another matter. I think that borrowers need to be more concerned about whether their servicing is being sold. That is the group that you're going to be dealing with, with your payments.
Because when we get into talking about hardship and falling on hard times, I want to be able to call somebody, right?
That's right.
I don't want to deal with an 800 number unless I have to.
That's right.
Is that the issue?
That is the issue.
Is that part of your concern, Walt, or were you just concerned about Fannie and Freddie Mac?
No. We were okay with that part. We were told that we would have a local agency like in Albany to call.
Okay.
So that part I'm not concerned with as much. So thank you for that.
Okay.
But my main concern was I always look at the big picture of everything. I don't know if everybody does. So you wonder where it ends up and what's going to affect what you do. So that was my concern.
Ultimately, you're going to be dealing with an 800 number that is probably not the most fun experience, and the difficulties really range generally only in the escrow handling, the payment of taxes and insurance, and whether or not there's enough money or too little money